Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. We are live streaming here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, but I did want to pull up this because I showed this exact camera yesterday, if you were tuning in, from the top of Ski Bowl right there, and there was a lot of barren ground up there. There's snow coming down right now, so just be aware of that if you were heading over the pass. I think that's kind of interesting just how much it's changed over the last couple of days, but thank you for being here. Again, we do live stream here every weekday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific. We're on Facebook, YouTube, our website, and our apps, and we get to have a lot of different conversations here, so thanks for being a part of this. Right now, though, we're talking about something, well, a little bit over the other side of that mountain, talking about Prineville, Oregon, in part, and we're talking about the Skydog Ranch Sanctuary for wild mustangs and burros, and so that's a whole lot that I just laid out right there. So we're going to discuss what that is and how this all works, and plus a new book that's out associated with it. Joining us, we have the founder right now, Clare Staples. And Clare, thank you for being here. You know, this is an interesting topic to get into, talking about wild mustangs, which, you know, we're used to seeing here in Central Oregon. But for you, I think, you know, I always like to start out at the beginning. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and how this all came about?
Sure. Nice to be here, Greg. And yeah, I moved to, I'm actually from England, and I moved to the States when I was 18 and worked in a very different kind of field and for most of my life. And then when I turned the dreaded 50, I just suddenly felt like I wanted to do something more meaningful with my life and something with purpose. And I decided to start rescuing horses, and predominantly wild horses, because I had adopted one, and I wanted to save a lot more. I
mean, rescuing wild horses it sounds like a tremendously arduous task to go about doing. I mean, you know, that's a big animal, and I guess to begin at that, you know, talking about rescuing horses, are you talking about rescuing from certain circumstances with humans or wild mustangs? I guess let's go from that route.
We rescue mustangs from all kinds of situations. So predominantly we take completely wild horses from the Bureau of Land Management corrals, and that's mostly special needs or seniors that would be euthanized otherwise. So we take those, then we take trainer relinquishments, owner relinquishments, and we particularly focus on the slaughter pipeline and pull horses out of kill pens and livestock auctions that have found themselves in really horrible situations, being abused, neglected, starved. And we bring them here to our 9,000-acre ranch in Prineville, rehabilitate them, and then where possible, we actually turn them out on thousands of acres to go back to living wild as they were born to be.
Wow. So you bring them up there, and then you have this, as you mentioned, the 9,000-acre ranch. Let's talk about that. You know, there in Prineville, can you give us just a description and understanding of what that is?
Yeah, we have a lot of wild horse herds in the state of Oregon, and even in Prineville, the Ochoco Forest has wild horses in it, so they're pretty close to our heart being in Prineville. And I think if I'd have realized what 9,000 acres looked like and was like to manage before I bought it, you know, it was a number on a piece of paper, but it is an extraordinary huge piece of land that really mirrors very much what these wild horses grew up on, especially in this state and Nevada or Utah or Wyoming or any of the Western states. So we turn them back out eventually and it's extraordinary because the land is so rugged and rocky, so it trims their feet and they really go back to living wild as they were.
And they can go back there and you release them back. Is this in Oregon or different places all over the country where they get released back?
No, on our sanctuary in Oregon, we release them back out. Where our ranch is kind of cross-fenced, so we might have one herd on 1,000 acres, another herd on 2,500 acres. And we also, one of the biggest things that we're known for is reuniting wild horse families. So that would be a wild horse family that were known out on the range. Like photographers go out to South Steens or some of these herd management areas and take pictures of these families and give them names and their babies' names. And when they get rounded up by the Bureau of Land Management, we go and piece the family back together and reunite them. And it's really very cool part, a small part of what we do, but a really, really meaningful part of what we do to a lot of people that love these horses.
I mean, that's got to be pretty incredible to be able to do that. I mean, so you can track them that entire time, know this horse belongs with this herd or vice versa, and bring them back together and actually witness that happen?
Yeah, and we have very successfully. And last year, we reunited our biggest wild horse family, which was Blue Zeus and his family of 10. We brought back his 3 lead mares and their children and the children from like 2 years old. And we reunited them all. And that's actually like the name and the cover of the book, because the first book that we wrote, the Coffee Table book, is all about 21 wild horse families that we've reunited or that were created at our sanctuary. And yeah, it's full of beautiful pictures and the stories of how I began Skydog and where it all began. And it's a really beautiful read. We have over 1 million followers on social media. So they were really thrilled to kind of see these stories written out in full and the pictures of these horses that's Renegade getting turned back out. And yeah, it's really a special thing that we love to do and that people love what we do. I mean, we're very, very lucky to be as well supported as we are.
Well, and I was noticing that, yeah, as you mentioned, this vast amount of social media followers. And do you think that's just because people really want to know about the story that you're telling when it comes to these horses and seeing them rescued? What is it that you think that is about that attracts people so much to it?
It's funny because we had been doing this before the pandemic started, and we would post things on social media. But during the pandemic, I think it was something about people being locked inside and, they didn't want to watch the news because it was all kind of bad news and scary. And we started getting these emails from like teachers or nurses in hospitals, and they were talking about how they would play these videos and all discuss them in the morning. And so it led me to kind of make much longer videos, tell the stories. And I think it was people's way of getting out in nature when they couldn't get out. And it became all the more meaningful seeing these horses who had been penned up in tiny spaces being released. I think that we felt a certain freedom from it as well. So our social media following kind of doubled, and we sort of gained a lot of popularity during the pandemic. So I think people were on their phones and looking for some good news and some like stories that would make them feel good and feel happy and be in nature, and seeing these stories of these horses who come in usually looking so terrible. And then, they watch them over the months, come back to health and happiness and then get released onto this beautiful land. It's kind of a really special journey to go on, and even now we'll still have people. Today we're fundraising, funnily enough, for a very old horse, a 31-year-old Mustang that we brought in from a kill pen. And people are like, I first donated to this horse or that horse, and they follow their stories and are so invested emotionally in the happiness of these horses, and if we lose a horse, people are, devastated, and we all kind of cry together. And I don't know, there's something about the community on social media, and people make friends, and, we have a volunteer program too, and people come out and they all sort of make this, I don't know, I think our world in general is lacking a community and good news and feel good stories. So I think it gives all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it really does, especially how you just described all of that. Well, talking to that community aspect, out there in Prineville, Oregon, you've got the 9,000-acre ranch. What's the interaction been like with the community there since you've had the ranch going?
It's been amazing. Like when we first bought the ranch, our neighbors were a little, they're all cattle ranching families. And I think they were all a bit nervous. What on earth is this crazy woman from California coming here to do? But they actually are the most amazing neighbors. And I think that they just wanted to know if we had stallions on our land, because I think they thought they would all be jumping the fence and going to visit their mares or something. But they're actually amazing neighbors. And sometimes even when we've lost a special horse, the neighbors have come over with like pizza and ice cream because they feel sad too, that this horse has passed away. So we've been welcomed, by the community in such a wonderful way. And I feel very, very, we have other ranches in Southern California for our older retired horses, but this is where my heart is, definitely in the wildlands of Oregon. I feel more alive and happier about doing this than anything I've ever done in my life. It's a sustainable happiness and joy seeing these animals come back to life. And I feel like I'm making a difference, and, raising awareness and educating people about the wild horses in America is part of our kind of nonprofit mandate. So we love an opportunity like this to talk about wild horses and to kind of show people our work and get more people involved.
I love that the neighbors are involved as well, and obviously, if they're cattle ranchers, they care about their animals as well. So there's a camaraderie there, that goes into that. I was wondering, just going from the community of your neighbors, you mentioned that you released the mustangs back out into the wild there in Oregon, and what's the interaction like with the Bureau of Land Management or some of the different governmental agencies that you probably work with quite a bit?
We do. And it's been a rocky road because I think at the beginning there was a lot of suspicion on both sides, but I really came into this with a very open mind and an open heart about, what I could do to help rather than just criticize and bash, the people that are rounding up these wild horses, because most of them are just sort of following orders from Washington and they're mandated to round up a certain amount of horses. But we really want to be here as a catch net and work with the Bureau. And actually, a couple of weeks ago, we worked with the Forest Service for the first time, taking 2 special needs horses from them. But we have a really good relationship with the Bureau of Land Management corrals in Burns. We visit there often. They now work with us and they'll tell us when there's a horse in need that they hope we'll take, because we have a lot more resources than they do to give special care to these horses. So I think they appreciate what we're doing. We try, and if we do criticize them, we do it on a sort of policy level rather than directed at anyone that we work with, because we actually do have a great relationship with them. And I think they appreciate a soft landing for horses, as do we working with them. So I think it's a good relationship.
How many horses do you on average have at the Skydog Ranch?
We have about 320 horses and burros, because we also take in BLM branded burros from many of the Western states. And they're a huge part of what we do. We also have a zebra, a zonkey, a zorse. We have these different hybrids, mules too, that we have rescued from the slaughter pipeline. And we like to sometimes take a different animal to raise awareness for an issue. So we took a couple of zebra babies out of the slaughter pipeline to raise awareness about canned hunt ranching in Oklahoma and Texas, and put a spotlight on that. So it's we have a lot of over 300. Some of them are special needs, and they're in these 40-acre pens where they will get special food and mash if they don't have teeth, and medication if they're older and have arthritis. And then the other ones that are kind of young and healthy and still able to run on land are just out there being horses.
And do they, as far as taking care of that many horses, that's got to be a tremendous undertaking. As far as how many people you need and feeding them, or are they feeding off of the wild lands, minus some of the ones that need special care?
No, all through the winter, we subsidize all the herds with hay because they're still on the ground, and we go out and we do herd checks every single day. But we also do have a huge equine staff. I think we have about 12 people working here right now, that the equine staff tend to take care of all the special needs. They'll, take care of a horse if it's injured or it gets sick or has an ulcer or an abscess, all the kind of stuff that happens living out in the wild. We're very hands-on with our horses, and we don't just turn them out and then leave them. We check them every day and bring them in, and we have a huge chute system that's a hydraulic chute that can squeeze them and tip them to do their feet. So we take care of everything. It's kind of like being wild, but with cookies and healthcare on the side if they need it.
A couple more, I'm fascinated by this. So just a couple more questions here that I had. So for people, you mentioned that you take volunteers. So if someone were to go out and volunteer to help out at Skydog Ranch, what would that entail?
Yeah, we have a volunteer program that's on our website, skydogranch.org, and people can send us an email. We have volunteers that come out. They help do everything. They're actually amazing, because they drive out here, which is a kind of hour out of town, and they'll help muck, feed, change waters, take care of it depends how much equine experience they have. Sometimes they can just literally help clear a pasture and pick up sticks and make slash piles. It really depends on their experience. But we've taken, from young girls come out here all the way to sort of, 83-year-old ladies come out, a lot of the time they just want to come out and pet the horses, or they'll put fly masks on if they have equine experience to the tamer ones. So it's a whole broad range of thing, and anyone can drop us an email and offer to come out, and we have a volunteer program set up for that. So it would be great to have more volunteers and see more people out here.
Well, a couple more questions here, just to wrap up. One other thing, talking about the wild mustangs here in Oregon, which I think a lot of people are aware of, but they may not know that much about it. What do you think is the most important thing that people in Oregon should know about the wild mustangs here?
I think just to know that we have some of the most beautiful herds of wild horses in America, and that these horses have such a history and a legacy. This whole side of the country wouldn't have been able to be founded except off the backs of our horses. And wild horses, a lot of times, are descended from that stock. And I think we owe them a huge debt of gratitude. And I think there's a lot of things that we could do to manage them better on public lands, and just to sort of dive in and get involved. And they can follow our website or follow any of the advocacy groups, or even there are Facebook groups that go out and take pictures of all the different herd management areas, so you can really learn the names of all these horses and follow their families and get involved. And it really is a beautiful thing to do. And for people that go out and want to see wild horses in the wild, they're as close as in the Ochoco Forest here, out there are a lot of HMAs around Burns, and, the Kaiga Mustangs are some of the most famous in the world, which are beautiful to see. So I would encourage anyone to get out and see our wild horses while they're still there.
How did you come up with the name Skydog Ranch? Where did that come from?
I read it was an old Blackfoot legend about the Native American Indians seeing horses for the very first time, and the native people were very, very frightened, and the chief said to them, no, they're sent from the old man in the sky. They're sky dogs, spirit dogs. They're like the elk and the buffalo. They've come to help us. And I always loved that. And I bought these sort of wooden sky dogs that are painted a lot in art of Native Americans. And I just thought it was a nice name. When I started, I didn't want to call us, Shady Acres Horse Sanctuary or something. I wanted it to be something, like a brand, as well as everything that we do. We also want to raise awareness, and Skydog just seemed like a good name, and it's what Mustangs were originally called. So it seemed fitting for them.
I love that. Oh, and speaking of raising awareness, let's let everybody know as well, too, just about the book. And then can you just let everybody know where they can pick this up, the website, and all that to support what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Greg. The book is available in all good bookstores. You can buy it online or come to our website, skydogranch.org. And we have a store there that sells prints of these horses and the book and all kinds of things. And everything that you buy in our store goes directly to feed and care for all the animals on our sanctuaries. So you're helping enormously by participating in any way, buying a little bracelet all the way to, the book is $49.95, and it's called Blue Zeus and Families of Skydog. And it teaches a lot about wild horses and their herds, and also the situations that a lot of these wild horses end up in. So it's a good read, even if you don't know anything about wild horses, you can learn.
Well, Claire, thank you very much for joining here today to talk about this. I think this is really fascinating and interesting work that you're doing, and clearly helping out for a lot of people and helping out these horses, and it's definitely connected with people. So congratulations on that. And, thank you for being here and all that you do. Any other last thing that you think people should know?
Just that wild horses, sometimes they're sort of looked down on as a breed of horse. People think that fancy warm bloods or quarter horses or these exotic breeds are the most beautiful horses. Honestly, you will never see anything more beautiful than a horse running free. And I just encourage everyone to get involved and find out a bit more about the wild horses of Oregon.
Claire, thank you very much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it.
All right, and for everybody who's watching too, again, this is Fox 12 Now. We are live, but you can always watch us afterward on the Fox 12 Oregon app, website, Facebook, YouTube channel. We're on all of those, so thanks for being here. We are going to take a break. We'll come back here in about 10 minutes or so, and we'll be actually talking about TV and film production here in Oregon. There's a bunch of it coming this summer, including right now, some things happening downtown. So we're going to talk about that and ways that you can be actually participating in that as an extra. So that's going to be coming up in just a bit. So we'll take a break. Talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.
First, live, local.